Hmm. The new Nintendo 3DS XL, because they don't have the normal size here in America yet. Now, I've owned this normal 3DS for a couple years now. I picked one up when it was on sale, and it's worked great. It's a great little system. It's probably the best dedicated... What is this? It's probably the best dedicated handheld there is today for gaming. But the big question is, should you be upgrading from that to this? I don't think so. This thing has a lot of really cool features, but ultimately, if you have one of these, you should stick with it. So let's compare sizes, because obviously you'll notice that this one is definitely a lot bigger than this one. So when it comes to thickness, you'll notice that they're about the same, discounting that gigantic battery pack on there that I put there because the battery life sucks on this thing. So when it comes to thickness, they're about the same size. But you'll notice that when you look at them from this angle, and especially when I open them up, this thing is a beast. This thing is just gigantic compared to this thing. It's not even close. Now, another thing you're going to notice is that, wow, look at that nice matte finish. You see any fingerprints on there? You shouldn't, because that is not a problem with this new one. If you look back at my old 3DS, you'll notice, ew, it's got dust and fingerprints, and it's just nasty. You can tell that somebody's owned it for a long time. Whereas this one, it's nice. It's got this nice matte finish. It's not too flashy. I mean, if you flip it around, then it's definitely shiny on the outside, but I mean, when you're playing games, you're not going to be paying attention to the outside of it anyway. This one is just great. So, just not really counting the size, what's new with this? I mean, they call it the new 3DS. What's actually changed? Well, you may have heard a lot of the marketing about there being more processing power, and you're probably wondering, like, oh man, is there like a bigger processor in there? Is there like something more heftier? Well, no. There's not anything that's heftier, because all they pretty much did is they overclocked a couple of the components. I mean, when you look at the pure specs, these two are pretty much the same. However, if you're a PC gamer, like I am, then you'll note that overclocking actually helps out a lot with the system's performance. And you'll notice that if you try to move around this menu, it's very, very snappy. Let's open up a menu. Nothing in that menu. Let's open up this folder here. Yeah, you can see I got a lot of junk in this folder, and it just all snaps up. It's nice. It's uncluttered. And you compare that to my old 3DS, and, well, I did a system transfer, so there's nothing really on this 3DS, but just take my word for it. This thing is actually much snappier than this thing. Now, unfortunately, the bad thing about that is that the new 3DS is actually going to get some more exclusives that you won't be able to play on this thing. Things like Xenoblade, which is actually one of the rarest Wii games around, and if you want to play it, you're going to have to buy one of these. So, that's going to be a little pricey. Thankfully, they have streamlined a lot of the design a bit. I mean, if you remember the old Circle Pad Pro accessory, which I don't have, then it was this gigantic, clunky thing that you would attach to the back of your 3DS, and you'd have to mangle with this weird stick here. I mean, you could pretend that I'm actually playing it, and it was a mess. It was just a total mess. The new 3DS just builds it right in. I mean, we got our stick here, we've got our back two buttons, and it works very well. It's much more portable than the old one with the old accessory. And oh man, what's this? What is this thing anyway? Let's zoom into that. Is that supposed to be a stick? Like, are you actually pushing that, or are you just tapping it, or what? Well, this is this weird new C-stick nub, and you've probably seen it a lot and wondered how it works. And if you remember Valve's old Steam controller with its touchpad-based touch sticks, then you'll know that it's a really weird concept. But what Nintendo's done is they've basically taken it... But what Nintendo's done is they've taken that concept and they've made it a lot smaller. And actually works really, really well. I mean, it's not ideal, but for what it's used for, it's actually really, really nice. Let me tell you, Smash Brothers. Let me see, where is Smash Brothers? Smash Brothers, for example, is just a dream to play now that you have an actual C-stick and an actual grab button back here. It works really, really well. And for games like, say, Majora's Mask, you can actually maneuver the camera with this thing, and it works really, really well. Can't do that on this thing. Plus, it's really tiny. So, the C-stick is really, really good. But, is it still worth upgrading from this thing to this thing? Well, no. It's really not. And the reason why is that there's nothing that this can play that this can't. Yet. Until Xenoblade comes out. It's going to be running a lot slower, it's not going to be as snappy, but this is still functional. You can still play games on this, and you can still get the latest and greatest stuff with this. And the only thing you'll be missing out on is pretty much not having a gigantic, ugly accessory add-on for this thing. So, if you got one of these, you can feel safe in sticking with it for now. But I will say that if you don't have a 3DS yet, then man, this is a really cool way to go about it. So, that's my take on it. See you next week.